You're listening to the Paracasual Destiny podcast. Hello and welcome to episode 25. Man, 25, that's a lot. We're starting to rack them up. Episode 25 of the Paracasual Destiny podcast. I'm Sooltime, and I'm in the room here live through the YouTube channels on your nearest computer with Green Stego, Romance Girl, and Salliebug. How's everybody doing this morning?
Good morning.
Good morning. Yeah.
Morning.
It's
doing well.
Sun is shining where we are, which is nice. It's been kind of like overcast and flurries for the past few days. It's super cold.
It's pretty darn cold out there.
In Texas. It is
Say it again?
completely gray skies here in Texas.
Is it cold?
No. It's in the 60s.
Okay. Yeah, it's frigid. It's been frigid here. So, it's been 2 weeks since we've been here doing this, and I think that's it's feeling good so far doing the every other week, being that we don't have a whole lot of time to play these days due to work commitments and whatnot, and I think it's just easy to do a full episode. Very easy for us just to do a full episode here with two This Week at Bungie's, aka TWABs, in the mail for us to talk about. But before we get to the January 21st TWAB, has anybody been on playing Destiny at all? And if so, what have you been doing? Salliebug?
Well, we actually the four of us plus our two other clan mates who live in the UK all did the raid twice since the last time we came on.
Deep Stone Crypt. Deep Stone Crypt. Deep Stone Crypt. I gotta
say, it was so the first time we did it, we were able to do the cheese with the sparrow racing. Well, not racing, but the sparrow drive through in the very beginning encounter.
The bubbles.
And then the second time.
Trek.
And then the second time we actually had to do it legit, which was kind of nice.
Yeah, it
really was.
It made
honestly.
Made you feel like you accomplished it, like without actually doing any. Like it's like I still like in the back of my head want to do that with Riven. Like, can I?
Yeah,
just take that?
We've never done Riven non-cheese.
Oh, I don't know about that, but I will say. I will say about the Sparrow introductory encounter to the Deep Stone Crypt raid, I really felt like an Antarctican scientific explorer, like just going out into the freezing cold, and if you make a wrong turn, you fall into a crevice or you die of frostbite.
You specifically, Green Stego.
Me specifically. I died a lot. I died a lot.
Well, like a true explorer.
I'm surprised you in retrospect liked that. You were very salty at the time.
I was. I had to marinate on it a little bit. I mean, no one likes dying as they're dying.
Right. Especially the pressure of like other people waiting for you while you're just trying to figure it out, and you're all on, and it's just you. And believe me, I've been there so many times. I'm thinking back to the jumping puzzle with the ships. That was King's Fall, right?
King's Fall, yeah. Taking King. Yeah. Oh man.
Yeah. That jumping puzzle with the ships zoning in and out is like, I'm pretty sure I've only done it like 2 times. Just everybody sitting around waiting for me, and then finally just saying, you know what, just pull me through. I can't do it.
It's a test of friendship and patience. I mean, just going through, and we'll talk a little bit more about it, but we're just going through the Harbinger activity with C3PO and having to wait up and, you can do it. And then finally she does it. And then we're all together again. It's great. It's fun. It's a tradition. It's a Bungie tradition, these jumping puzzles. I can't wait for VOG. Vault of Glass jumping puzzle is going to be fun again.
The one thing I did like about it, because the Harbinger quest, obviously, I mean, to do the Harbinger quest, you have to have the Hawk Moon initially, I think.
Yeah.
Is it not open if you don't have it?
Right.
Yeah.
But the one thing I will say about that I liked about the Harbinger versus the other encounters that they have that are similar to that, like was it called 0 Hour and the Whisper mission, that were timed, and so you had to figure out that jumping puzzle, but you only had a certain amount of time. So if you're really struggling with it, you may, and we talked about this before, may just never get through it.
Yeah.
And I liked in this case, well, one, the jumping puzzle and the jumping part was challenging, but not so challenging that it couldn't be done. But also that they don't have a timer on it. It's like, I think that timer is just silly. Make the timer be part of like maybe a hard mode.
But yeah. Heroic 0 Hour, because they did have Heroic 0 Hour.
Yeah, save the timer for Heroic, and then add some loot at the end for the Heroic people.
I think that it also, I think the timer was trying to tie up with the story and the feel of the mission, which I appreciated their attempt to do, because it was like a very urgent thing
0 hour.
Doing.
It makes sense.
Exactly.
They were trying to bust into
I am
that.
also not a fan of timed missions.
Yeah. That being said, so Salliebug, we have as a our core clan raid team, but we really need to, and we always say this, is anybody else in our clan who needs to get through that raid, we need to start helping them and branching out a little bit and divvying up the raid teams a little bit to teach, start Sherpa, because I think we're almost at the point with this raid.
We cleared it twice, and now we're experts, basically.
We are experts. Absolutely.
We've done it twice. We're experts.
We've done it twice.
We've done it twice, so we're getting pretty comfortable in what our roles are and what we're doing. I feel like maybe we should do it a couple more times before we just say, okay, we can
just until I get the trusty, and then we can let other people do it.
Yeah, but I kind of like, if you think about the setup, the way they have like 3 major roles in this, and usually you split your team of 6 in 2. What's really cool about that is when you go, you can split up and have one person who knows what to do from each of those 3 things. So you can split the raid team in half and add 3 newbies to teach them and give them that talent and spread it that way. It works out pretty well.
I also like that in this raid, Stego and I talk about this a lot, that you can choose your role instead of it assigning roles randomly.
I think that was a response to feedback from the community. And it's, I agree. So much nicer.
We talked about that, and we're bringing up this. I'm bringing up that raid again, the Kingsfall raid, where one person would randomly be chosen to have to do the jumping part.
Yeah,
the ascended jumping part, and we'd all like a couple of us would be great, they're all for it, and then if I got it personally, it's just like, oh no, I'm gonna wipe us all. I'm not going to be able to do it.
We would all try to keep a positive attitude about it.
And there is something to be said for Bungie's designed getting people outside of their comfort zones. And I feel like that's benefited me as just having overall a great experience with the game. But on the other hand, when you're casual and you don't have a lot of time to get through these things, your time is limited. It's nice to be able to choose and perfect before moving on, and leave it in the players and the team's hands to assign roles and switch around if they want to.
Stego, I definitely appreciated that.
What have you been doing on Destiny? Anything?
Outside of the raid, no, not on Destiny.
Whoa. You got an exotic.
You did an exotic quest. Did you do the? Did you guys get the
On your warlock?
Oh yes, I did. That wasn't this. That was just before the first raid. I ground out the legendary lost sector for the new warlock gauntlets, the necrotic grips.
Oh wow!
Grips?
Oh, nice.
I think it's grips.
Is it grips or grasps? Anyway, very crispy.
Hands.
Very nice. Took it out with the thorn for a quick spin, and it is very nice.
I don't have any of the stasis exotics for any of my characters yet. I should do that. But
I've only tried
the Beyond Light exotics, you mean?
Yeah, that's what I meant. Beyond Light exotics.
One,
stasis or not.
Legendary, because you have to do it solo to get the legendary, to get the exotic gear, right?
Mm-hmm.
I only attempted that once, and I didn't get very far, and I gave up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's best to wait for an easier one to roll around, because they're on a rotation, and then for that to align with the exotic you're going for.
Yeah. So, like, right now, the Master Lost Sector is arms. So, that is the more challenging one, but it means that yesterday, before reset, so really, it was Thursday's reset.
Anyways, there's
the bunker
at
E15
some
one
point, you wait for the legendary, right, instead of the Master.
Yeah.
Instead of the Master, right.
Yeah, that's what you want to do.
Okay. Well, actually, somehow it got into my head that I needed to get back and explore stasis a little more. So I actually started pursuing. I finished the Burning Darkness on my main warlock, and got my first 2 fragments. Got the 2 aspects and got my first 2 fragments. Doing the quests, a little tough. You had to get like stasis final blows in a strike, which is very difficult to do when you're with 2 blueberries rushing through, killing everything. But I got some good pointers on YouTube. Anybody interested in doing that one where you have to get champions in strikes with a stasis final blow? A couple of pointers. One is the seasonal finisher, and I believe the generic finisher works as long as you are using the stasis subclass, which you will be using. But certainly the one off the seasonal pass, I forget, it's like Silencer or something, where you take out a gun and just shoot the guy. That counts as a stasis final blow. So that's pointer number 1. Pointer number 2 is to solo into the 1250 Nightfall and go at the champions solo. Just get them down to where they get the little finisher symbol, the little gold circle, and then have at them with your finisher.
Right?
What's that?
Right, but you went into a lost sector, right? You deviated from the actual...
To get some other stuff that's on those things. I did, to finish up some other blows, but you can't get final blows on champions in the lost sectors. You have to
be in a legendary lost sector. You can't just, not the regular
Exactly,
one
the regular lost sectors don't count for that. So you do have to go through the main strike.
In there. For some reason, I was thinking that some of those yellow barred wanted ones would be considered a champion, but probably not, because they don't have
just the ones with
like
shields.
Overload or anti-barrier or anything.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. Early on in the season, when Beyond Light first launched, we kind of went all in on that Born in Darkness, and they were very grindy, but I found that I eventually just got them, just kind of just keeping my stasis subclass equipped and ignoring them.
Right. Well,
until they finished.
We'll get
I'm
to
sure,
that point a little bit.
I'm sure Sooltime's method was a lot more efficient.
Well, I think it's designed to do it the way you did it. It's like, well, you can grind it out, and there's avenues to do that. But also, if you just equip it and play the game, that it would just happen, kind of. And I would say, for the most part, for me, on where I am, that is as far as I've gotten, has been from doing that, like not really focusing on it so much, but just having the stasis subclass equipped and enjoying it. But
Yeah, and noticing things like if it asks for stasis grenade kills, you obviously want the cold snap grenade
Right. Yeah.
or
Right.
whatever it's called that
You
actually
definitely can.
kills enemies and stuff like that.
Yeah, you can definitely prepare your loadout to get it a lot quicker,
and
if at
when I'm
all.
doing right, and when I'm doing but when I'm doing kind of like the more challenging stuff, or like when I'm in the raid, I'm gonna go back to, I tend to go back to my tether hunter, my void hunter, because that's my comfort zone.
We'll be a little
As-
greedy if you
and
if you need stasis kills.
Yeah.
that's true. That's true. And we'll talk about it more as we get into the TWAB, but
Yeah.
there's a question on whether how far along do I have to be with the, like, I didn't think season had anything to do with stasis.
Yeah, I
but
answered that
there's a little
earlier
twist in there. I did see
on
that.
Discord.
We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
We talk. If I was confused, other people might be confused. So I thought
I'm
maybe
still
we could talk about it.
confused. The other thing, the other.
I feel 100% on it.
Oh, good. You can
All
let us
right.
know.
Perfect.
But you know,
So
the other thing I keep getting confused about is this character or account based. You know, like if I get, like I learned yesterday, once you shoot all those little dark fragments that are on Europa to get to progress your Born in Darkness quest, when you go to an all character, they're gone. So that's account
They're already
wide,
done.
right? So I'm a little
Interesting.
confused about. I still get confused about, like, is this account or just character based on a lot of things in Destiny? But I'd like to move on to doing the TWAB. But before we do that, something really cool happened to our podcast over the past week, and that is we got our first voice message at anchor.fm. You can actually leave us a voice message, and it inspired me to actually include that link in our links, you know, in our descriptions. But a fan of ours named Charlie sent us this really encouraging voice message, and I'm going to play it for you. And man, if we were thinking of throwing in the towel or just not going through the trouble of doing this anymore, that has changed, because this just makes me want to put out a podcast every day after listening to this. Here's what Charlie had to say.
It's been an awesome podcast so far. Keep going. I love it.
It is just perfect. Talk about inspiration. Thank you so much, Charlie, for sending that. And boy, you've squeezed another year at least out of us to do this. We really appreciate you listening.
Charlie. We love
Big shout out to Charlie.
A big shout out to Charlie. Amazing. Absolutely an amazing. And thank you so much for reaching out and giving us that boost. Definitely refueled us.
But glad to feel like we're actually reaching other people and they're enjoying the content. So
yeah,
thank you so much.
Full disclosure is we do this mostly just because it gives us an excuse to share our thoughts with each other. And we thought, well, you know, maybe there's other people out there who don't have a lot of time to play this game, who think like us, and are not full-time content creators or whatever, who would be interested in our perspective on one of our favorite hobbies. Let's move on to the TWAB. Let me see if I can't call that up here on our broadcast screen. There it is.
And while you're
Do we
This
have
week at Bungie.
Funny Bone in the room?
We do have we need to say hello to our fifth.
I've been lurking. Guilty.
We have a guilty
Wow.
lurker, a GL. Okay.
A guilty lurker.
Well, Funny Bone, welcome to
Thanks for having me.
the Paracasual Destiny podcast. We were expecting you. Let me just adjust some levels here. Yeah. Okay. There we go. How you doing, Funny Bone?
I'm doing fantastic.
Did you get anything done today?
I got some coffee.
Oh, well,
Oh,
that's always good.
that is
Took
definitely
a shower.
Yeah. I'd say
Both good things.
next to finishing the Harbinger quest, coffee's the most important thing. Well, we're just getting ready to roll into This Week at Bungie. We've got 2 of them because we're doing a bi-weekly podcast now. We got a little lazy. No, it's not because we're lazy.
Let's speed on through then.
Yeah, let's get
let's
through
see
it.
what's going on here. This is January 21st, a week ago from last Thursday. They introduced the new Harbinger activity, went live, and they had a little trailer.
And you mentioned that. We've done that. Has anyone else taken that on yet?
No, we
Crickets.
still haven't gotten Hawk Moon.
No,
Yeah.
still haven't got the first talk.
Crickets. So that would be it. That would be a no. A totally casual clan.
I've got the Hawk
Hate it
Moon,
right
but I
now.
haven't gotten the quest with the perks.
Right.
We still haven't collected the feathers, the original feathers, not the
Right.
new feathers.
Yeah, you still have to do the Hawk Moon quest. You need the Hawk Moon to do the Harbinger. So
we did it with our granddaughter, and we just had a ball. It was fun. It was challenging, but not so challenging that we couldn't get through it. So I just appreciated. I appreciated the content. I appreciated the encounters. We found some of the feathers, but probably not all of them. And I think the feather locations, from my understanding, rotate
weekly.
So-
They change every week. Yeah.
Right. So there were some, and it just may be bi-weekly, because I think the people who were diligent and got all the feathers the first week and then got it the second week were able to get the ship, because the feathers are tied to getting that beautiful ship.
I want that beautiful ship, by the way. I always want the
And
ships.
it is
There's
a
something about
beauty.
exotic ships
Yeah.
that make me go nuts, and I want to
I
get
love
them.
that ship. It's so pretty.
It's really cool looking, honestly.
I really do. I'm wondering what it would look like with some other shade. I want it and start putting shaders on it. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yep, gonna need to do so. But so we should minimally do some digging on where some other feathers are, and do it again.
Do
maybe
a little
take
YouTubeage.
Funny Bone, maybe
Yeah.
take Funny Bone through it, and
It's fun.
That way we
Actually, I kind of liked the Harbinger thing as far as these, like the Whisper, and, we were talking about 0 Hour before. I really like this one. This seems like everybody can do it and get through it pretty quick, so it's a grindable activity. Pretty cool, actually. That's my opinion on it. And if you guys need help, need an extra fire team member to help you get through any of either the original Hawk Moon mission to get the gun, or this Harbinger activity, which I really like, happy to jump in and help anybody who wants to do that.
absolutely.
The next part of this TWAB is sticking around, and they're talking about how they're going to try to make the seasonal content stick around longer to reduce FOMO, fear of missing out. Yeah. And then they have a list of things that are going to be around to the end of year 4. Wrathborn hunts, story missions, adored quests, Crow's vendor screen on the Tangled Shore, the Hawkmoon exotic quests and master activity. So you guys, there's no rush on that, which is nice. Seasonal seal and warden title. Seasonal seal must still be earned by the deadline on the Bungie rewards page. Due to an issue blocking the Triumph, we will be adjusting this deadline. So I don't know what's going on there. I don't know if that's been resolved or not. So I guess they're giving us a little more time to get the warden title. The seal. Oh, by the way, Salliebug, one of us was not wearing the Hawkmoon when we finished it because we didn't get that triumph. I noticed. That's a little just a personal aside. So make sure when you do the Harbinger that everybody's got the Hawkmoon on. There's actually a triumph. That's in order to get the Warden title.
There was also a bug early on, I think, that triumph wasn't going, but that has since been resolved.
That may be what they're referring to, is that triumph. Okay. Here are a few things that will no longer be available, and I believe the season ends, the deadline's February 9th. Crow's Bounties, those were pretty generic, if I remember right. Messages from the field, I can't even tell you what that is. Anybody know what that means?
That is, if you go into Zavala's office in the tower, then you can hear Osiris's messages from the field.
Do you get anything? Did I do that?
No.
Story. You get what's going on in the story.
Okay, so it's a lore thing.
Voice lines.
Yeah, it's been like updated probably every week. There's a new one, but they're all still there.
Oh,
so you can still go and listen
catch
to
up
all
and
of
just
them.
listen to all of them.
Okay, I'm going to add that to my February 9th deadline checklist. I'd like to do that. Okay, cool. And of course, the seasonal artifact and the seasonal pass goes without saying. Almost, I would think that's going away. Okay.
Yeah.
Umbral engrams are making a return in season 13.
Woo!
I think this is being really well received because of the intentionality of being able to pick and choose what you need, what you want. So I think this is a fan favorite, and they're glad it's coming back. That's my sense, just from other podcasts and some YouTubeage that I've been ingesting. Thoughts on Umbral engrams?
The Umbrals.
Yeah, love them.
The only thing I didn't like about them is they seem to come with a little bit of a annoying frequency that I would fill up quick and have to go back. It would interrupt the game flow, and I think they're adjusting that. Yeah, which is cool.
Yeah.
Still be earning out. All these things are great. Patrol, Strikes, Crucible, Gambit, The Ordeal, Public Events, Blindwell, Nightmare Hunts, Exo Challenges, Empire Hunts, and new seasonal activity. There's not enough to do in this game, obviously. You may notice fewer Umbral engrams sitting in your inventory than before. Thank you. While it was fun to watch Umbral engrams rain down on players in Season 11, the drop rates were higher than expected. They're rebalancing that. Thank you. And there's a picture of the recaster on the TWAB for all to enjoy. Prismatic Lens. Prismatic Lens will unlock a new focus and option. Target a narrower collection of gear. Target specific armor stats. I don't think anybody does that except for Green Stego. Is that right? Targeting specific armor stats?
Guilty, I suppose.
Well, you're our paid consultant, because in the raid you gave me some very, very good advice when it came to mods on my armor that I had wearing, and it really helped me out.
He was doing makeovers.
He was doing makeovers for us all, and I think Richard wasn't interested, if I remember. I don't care. Okay, well then stop dying. Nah, he wasn't dying. I was dying over and over again, and I think some of those mods that you suggested really helped me out. I'd like to get more into that sort of strategy. I wish I could care more about armor stats as well. I really don't. All I look at is the total number. And and this has been my approach to games. I always try to get like an overall good distribution of stats. I'm not one of those people who wants to max out one stat or the other, even though I think the game favors that. I've always been like, I'm going to evenly distribute the wealth amongst my stats. I've been like that from my D&D days all the way up through playing any game.
Wait,
Ideally, I guess you'd have a armor set for each. The balanced, then the spiked roll you need for this certain build.
Only to have it sunsetted.
now hold on. You're telling me that charisma wasn't your dump stat?
No, I would evenly distribute over charisma, strength, constitution, you name it, intellect. I would just kind of get the even distribution, so I was a jack of all trades, master at none.
Wizards don't need strength.
Well, yeah, they do
When you
in
run out
certain
of spells.
situations, right? You never know when you're going to run into that situation.
You've fallen into a pit. Make a jump check that uses strength.
Yeah, I ignore those stats in Destiny too. Unless I'm like feeling like, oh, my grenade's not coming back fast enough, then I'll check it. Or
Right.
might as well double check my mobility, just make sure that's okay.
Right.
But that's only if it's
I mean,
feeling off. But I mostly just ignore it unless something feels off.
Mm-hmm.
Right. As a casual player, I'm the same way. I really don't look. I barely look at the mods and use mods to change anything. But I do. But the two things I mostly focus on are resilience and recovery, because I really just my goal is to stay alive. So I try to boost those stats up to make sure that
100 resilience.
I never quite
He's a
get
PvP
there.
player, guys.
When I finally got around to masterworking my Titan's armor, I was able to boost to 100 resilience.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. That's awesome.
Brag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I totally get it, playing off of the strengths of the different character classes. The other overall, I will say this. I don't know how you guys feel about it. The other overall strategy I use when speccing out, and this goes for any game, is, and I got this from Funny Bone, is defense trumps offense. And so I always tend to build up my defensive armor stats over health and offense stuff first, and then I work on those things, and that seems to work out pretty well. We play a
How about you,
mobile
Funny
game,
Bone?
Empires and Puzzles, and I always go for defense when decking those characters out. So
I mean, I honestly don't pay too much attention to it. However, I am definitely biased towards resilience and recovery. So if it's between two items that are, 65 rated, whatever it might be, and one has a bunch of intellect and the other one has a bunch of resilience, then I'm going to pick the resilience one.
sure.
Right.
Yeah. The next thing is titles, A Gilded Age. They're gilding the titles, gilding the lily, so to speak. So you can, I don't know. So your titles, you can reset them and gild them and actually redo stuff to get them to look cooler. It's another bragging rights thing, as far as I can tell, right?
Is it basically just recycling some content and make it because it's been so long since for
Right.
some people got those titles really early on in Destiny 2 to just kind of bring them back to making them.
Yeah, so they're going to have specific triumphs, it looks like, to or objectives to gild a title that you already have, like Dredgen, Conqueror, any of those old ones, right?
Yeah, and that'll reset every.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Anybody
that'll
wanna
reset.
through or
Go
gild?
ahead, Sally.
Is anyone going to try to go for a gilded title?
Yes, I want to be a gilded Dredgen.
Will it say Gilded Dredgen?
No, I think it'll be gold. instead of purple.
Okay, I get it. Now, what if someone re-guilds the same title season after season? Is that going to have extra flair to it?
No, it resets after the season. So if you have the Dredgen title and you have that underneath your gamer tag, then and next season you guild it, then the following season it will step back and refresh to the base level Dredgen of purple.
So the gilding thing is a seasonal thing. Like you can gild your title every season.
Right, but there's a PIP tracking how many times in your career you've gilded a given title. You get a new color and symbol for the title over your head so that you can show it off, of course. Okay. I'm going to go with what our good friend Richard would say. I can't be bothered.
I'm kind of the same way. I kind of read over that and goes, yeah, that's just not for a casual player.
I don't know. I mean,
yeah, it's hardcore. It's definitely to reward people's time investment.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of players who are doing all of this stuff anyway, and there's nothing in the game that's like just
rewarding them,
showing that they've done it. Like people who do the Grandmasters every season. Once you got that Conqueror title, it doesn't show that you've done the Grandmasters this season. So it's just a way to be like, I did the grind again this season, you know?
Yeah, giving them a little nod.
Yeah.
And that's
and
cool.
maybe just a little structure on what you want to go for, what you want to put your time into.
It's always something like, oh, if I've finished everything else and there's still, oh, I'm so close, I'm edging that, I'll go do this to get it. Certainly I'd be up for that.
If they also had, emblems that tracked how many times they gilded a title or something like that.
I think they are doing that.
Yeah, there was question on whether they would do that publicly or privately. People are saying they should make sure that you show that number publicly, public facing.
Yeah. So let's pause here for a station ID. You are listening to the Paracasual Destiny podcast. We broadcast bi-weekly every other Saturday at 11 a.m. Eastern U.S. time. And thank you for joining us. And I think we're right in the middle of 2 TWABs right now. We're going to move on to TWAB number 2, which came out last Thursday.
This past Thursday.
We should call this segment These Weeks at Bungie.
It's still TWAB though, right? These weeks at Bungie.
We need to read the previous one as last week at Bungie, and then this week at Bungie.
The LWAB.
The WAB and the TWAB.
Oh, by the way, Funny Bone, were you here when we gave the shout out to Charlie for his voice message?
I was.
You were, okay. Wasn't that great?
Share my love. Share my love.
For sure. Okay, so a season of the Redacted trailer goes live on February 2nd. Man, that's coming up. What's that, Monday or Tuesday? Tuesday. Okay, before we get there.
Tuesday reset.
Okay, introducing seasonal challenges. Oh, this stuff was music to my ears. This is a lot of quality of life things. And I don't know.
I love a checklist.
I do love a checklist. So they turn it over okay. During production of Beyond Light, we started looking at the problems of bounty fatigue and FOMO, as well as seasonal legibility. What is in a season and how do I engage with it when I log in? And so they have these burger dots here that are goals going forward to improve our experiences. Provide a guide to new, returning, and veteran players for what to do today / this week. Yes.
The other thing I
sort
really
of
like about this.
Yeah.
That, I don't know if we have gotten to that part in the actual TWAB, but what I really like about this new system is that it's not related to the week. So if you don't get it done in that week, that you have the opportunity to kind of backtrack and still be able to get that challenge done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not locked out week to week, even though they are giving guidelines for what you could do each week.
Right.
Yeah, kind of
And
like a
I-
Braytech, in-game Braytech.org thing, which would be great. But I like the fact that they're dividing out between, they're parsing out between new, returning, and veteran players. So that's a great idea, I think, to address those three populations. Guide the player through seasonal content week over week. I remember how we were kind of confused on whether to do Beyond Light or stuff or Wrathborn hunts. That should help with that sort of thing. Encourage players to engage with complexities and nuances of the seasonal activity and rituals. Kind of the same thing. Reworded. Reduce the penalties on XP and Bright Dust for missing a given week. And that's what you were talking about kind of there, Salliebug?
Right. Yep.
Yep.
Absolutely. Like it's just like, oh, I edged this one. I was edging this weekly one, but then I just thought I could be able to get back on, but never could. And then it just goes away. Boom.
Yeah.
You're done. And all that work that you did to edge that one was, yeah.
Okay, so they're introducing a new pursuit type, seasonal challenges, with its own page, and it's accessed through the quest log or the seasonal pass, and they are separated by week. This is really interesting to me. It's sort of like a executive skills management system for us people with ADHD, right?
That is exactly what I said. Green Stego can attest. I said, this is so ADHD friendly. So happy.
Yeah, it really is, which benefits me for sure.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a very welcome change.
And then they break it down every week for the first 10 weeks. Between 3 and 10 new challenges appear. Nice. Some of the challenges deal with seasonal content. Others push players to do Strikes, Gambit, Crucible, focus on non-activity focus rituals like gaining power, unlocking the artifact mods, or improving guns and armor.
Nice.
They can only be completed once per account. So it's account wide. All right, they made that clear. But once they become available, these challenges can be completed at any time before the end of the season and do not need to be started or picked up from a vendor. I like it. They give an example: if a player doesn't play for weeks 2 through 4, they can return on week 5 and have all those challenges waiting for them. That's what you were talking about, Salliebug. I really do like this.
Yeah.
For us,
there are just weeks that
because
we just
there's weeks
don't
like this
either.
week was parent conferences for us, and so I didn't have a lot of time or energy to hop on and do anything.
And plus, being from a casual perspective, there like you have to pick and choose what you want to do. So if you have already planned to, like, say, do the raid, and that's really all you had the time for, you didn't really have time to like pick up any of those other challenges or do any of that other. So it's not necessarily that you didn't play at all, but it's just didn't have the time to put the focus into that particular content.
Right.
So I like you can kind of go back and get to it when you get to it, type of thing.
Yep. And they say in moving away from weekly bounties, they are doing some more difficult challenges. These may be things you're already doing or things that test your ability. Some include defeating primevals in Gambit, defeating enemies in Nightfall with seasonal weapons, gaining infamy or valor ranks, acquiring the ritual weapon and its cosmetic ornaments, winning rounds in trials, completing a Grandmaster Nightfall. Has anybody here completed a Grandmaster Nightfall? I don't think we have.
No.
Grandmaster Nightfall, you have to be, that's a 1300 power for this season. You have to be at least 1275 to do it, and even then you're way underpowered.
I think last season Salliebug and I attempted one with Richard, and we just couldn't finish it. We ran because it's timed, and we ran out of the time, and it was awful.
You also have limited revives.
Right.
Right.
We were okay with that. We learned how to get to near the end, near the boss. What was it? It was the Taken one
Lake
on
of
EDZ.
Shadows. It was
Lake
from
of Shadows.
Lake of Shadows.
And supposedly one of the more easier grandmasters to do. And so
we were thinking,
we were
we'll
so
be able to
close,
get it.
we're gonna get it. And then all of a sudden this timer thing came up. And I was like, wow, man, we are dead. And so we gave up on it.
Adding that other element to it.
Yeah, like
just
if you take longer than 20 minutes or something.
And then here we are talking about the timing thing again. We can figure out how to get through it and get through the strategy, but if we're timed in addition to all of that, so it definitely is like we're casual players and it's definitely hardcore.
I'm challenged enough by the ordeal right now.
Yeah, and some people just need more
the
time
higher
on their
levels of the
quizzes.
ordeal. Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, can we get accommodations for the Grandmaster Nightfall?
I need a Bungie IEP.
Definitely need a Bungie IEP.
I need accommodation, Bungie. Yeah. We're removing bounties. There's some more details about this that my interest in is waning. The Bright Dust. Yeah, let's move on to Bright Dust. This is great, I think. A really good move on paper, anyway. That what they're doing with seasonal Bright Dust. And I haven't read this yet, but we watched a video. Who was it? Salliebug we watched. Aztec Cross does a really nice recap of the TWAB, and he seemed really excited about this. And when Aztec Cross gets excited, everybody gets excited.
He actually wasn't that excited about this. I'm going to push back on that. And
Really?
He said, I already have enough Bright Dust. I'm never low on Bright Dust. Bungie, give us silver.
He did say that.
True.
Yeah, you're right.
He did say that.
Right. He was more excited about the prospect of getting silver. Dang.
It's never going to happen because that's.
But I am excited as a more casual player who does not have a ton of Bright Dust.
Right.
Right.
The accent really clinched it. They wouldn't have remembered had you not.
I think Sooltime, what you're confusing is when he announced it, we did get excited. He was in the background, not excited, but we were all about it. He was like, yes, now
We were
can
jumping up
finally
and down in the living room. Yeah. Going, hooray.
I remember a lot of cheering happening. I'm pretty sure he was excited.
He was overall upbeat
I'm
on that one.
I am welcoming to this.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I am too. I feel like there are things that are being sold for Bright Dust that I just end up having to pick and choose. It's like, I want it, but do I really want to spend my limited resource of Bright Dust on it? And so then, that FOMO, I'm like, nah, I'm just going to hold on to my Bright Dust because there may be something better coming along. And this will give us a more avenues to be able to access. And so
I know somebody in our clan who's going to be excited about more Bright Dust. And I think you know who that is. Ghost.
Yeah.
He's going to love this.
Starts
there's
G
more
and
Bright.
rhymes with the most.
Oh man, so you could really grind some Bright Dust here. It sounds like, and I know he likes doing that.
Mm-hmm.
And then they actually give the numbers, which is kind of cool. They just break it down. The seasonal activities give you 6,000 for the free seasonal activities, and then regular ones give you 4,000. That's a total of 10,000, and this is for all players. Season Pass Bright Dust, the free path is 7,500, which is the lion's share. Paid path 3,000 if you own the Season Pass, for a total of 10,500. Weekly, you have to reward grinding in these free-to-play games. You have to reward it. 120 Bright Dust per ritual vendor per character per week. That's significant. That's 14,040 total if you're doing all the weekly challenges. So that'll get some people to play who really like the cosmetics in this game. And that Bright Dust, I think they found... people have been talking about how the weapons have been balanced. I mean, there's the debacle with stasis in PvP, but people haven't mentioned how I feel like Eververse is actually in a really good place, a balance between the silver purchase and the Bright Dust purchases, just in what's available week after week.
I agree with that.
I think it's in a good
I agree
place, isn't
too.
it? They're hitting that balance, which is really great. I think that's important. And now,
And I do not think silver should be earnable in game. That would defeat the purpose of separating the currencies.
take that
Right,
as to
absolutely.
cross.
Well, and then yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree too. They do need to make money. There's no doubt about it. Now I know this next section here, they're going to talk about the sandbox a little bit. Might ruffle some feathers amongst us. Every
Amongst
season.
us?
Well,
I'm not going to ruffle any of our feathers.
I completely
per se.
fabricated that.
we have any
I don't
PC
think we
players
really.
here?
Well, we have some
Mouse and
PV
keyboard?
Oh, isn't that nice though? It's almost like a now you get to experience the game like us console people.
I've had a theory for a while that a lot of the complaints coming from the upper echelon of players of who play on PC are just bored with the game because mouse and keyboard isn't as fun.
That's too easy.
It's too easy.
It kinda
yeah, that's what I'm
is.
saying.
It
Like these
kinda
players who are
is.
so good at the game, imagine making the game easier.
It's ironic too because that's where all the cheaters are because of the hacks for the PC.
Right, well, it's easy.
Yeah, well,
Speed, too.
if it's
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
Like what Aztec Cross was saying about this was like, yeah, they're trying to balance it, but so PC players are going to get this, but he kept saying like how console players should not be looking forward to all the cheaters that they're going to experience
Yeah,
going
true.
into this.
Yeah, once crossplay is actually a thing, then you've got the cheating piece.
I think for a lot of these and a lot of the top voices of PvP in this game realize that Destiny abandoned the concept of competitive PvP in this game a long time ago. It's meant to be fun, not competitive. And I think the top guys like Cammy Cakes and Cool Guy, they all realize that, And I think if you drop the concept of it being trying to be a competitive game, I think it opens up sort of the mood a little bit to realize that give it some leeway here.
The trick there is that there's definitely, when it comes to PvP in any game, there's a gray area between fun and competition. Right? Like not enough competition, it's not fun
They're
at all.
blended too.
Too much competition, it's not fun at all.
Right. Well, and there's also game theory. There's the game theory people, like the theoretical gamers, like theoretical physicists who are fans of the mechanics of PvP and really like the stats and love how, maps versus time to kill and all the stats and numbers that go along with these things. And I can understand wanting the game to be well oiled and a working machinery to make it fun. And that involves having counterbalance or ways of, there should always be something available. Even if it takes great skill and practice, there should be always something available to counter play what's in the game. And I think that's where a lot of people get upset too with stasis and whatnot is there's just some of these things they put in the game. There's no counter to them.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit.
Well,
Because I was
let me
thinking a little-
just finish this thought
finish
of
the TWAB and then we'll get on
they
with-
are what we've been sort of beating around here is the fact that they are going to give mouse and keyboard recoil to closer match console controllers for auto rifles, scout rifles, pulse rifles, submachine guns, hand cannons, and machine guns. And then they go into the numbers of what they're going to do. And what was interesting to me was how camera movement is a thing to that's incorporated in this. I thought that was interesting. So yeah, they're giving mouse and keyboard recoil. But what were you going to say? What were you saying, Salliebug?
I was just saying, I feel like we should delve deeper into PvP experience, but let's finish going through this TWAB and the buffs and nerfs, and then we can kind of
because then we can all weigh in. I know we're not huge, we're more PvE in this podcast than we are PvP for sure, but I'm always I feel like PvP is super important for the health of the game, and it's let's face it, it's Bungie's roots are in this sort of thing, and it's important. So they're buffing rocket launchers. A lot of people have been talking about how they're just pea shooters lately. So they get a big buff. They're nerfing swords. Fusion rifles are getting a range buff as well. And breach grenade launchers, which is the first time I've heard this term. Breach grenade launchers. Those are the ones where you hold down the right trigger, and then when you release it, it detonates.
Yeah, I could never quite figure that.
So it's
one
a
out.
timing thing. Yeah. I got to about 70% with it. Like 70% of the time, it would work for me. I'm just not very good timing wise. So they're kind of giving them a buff in the sense that the projectiles will detonate on impact, even if you still have the trigger held down. So it's just making it easier to use.
Yeah.
If you have good aim,
It'd be like that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm more likely to pull out one of those grenade launchers. I've tried them. I think I do them when I have a bounty from Banshee that says grenade launchers that take special ammo, but I pull them out and I just never seem to really quite be able to time it right. So I'm thankful for this, because this way I know I can still just point and shoot it, and I have a chance of doing what it needs to do.
Sniper rifles are getting a nerf. Increased ADS flinch to snipers when taking damage. Funny Bone, I think you're a fan of that. I think you're a fan of snipers should get flinched, if I remember right. Is that true?
Absolutely. That's the risk you take when you're trying to use it.
Because
there's nothing worse than getting headshots on a sniper and then he headshots you right back.
Right, exactly.
It's like just such the worst feeling.
Right.
That is a bad feeling.
Why would that happen?
I can see that. Yeah.
Every weapon should have a risk of using it.
And you're shooting him, it should have, like, I mean, let's face it, in real life, if you're shooting a sniper, they would be flinched. They wouldn't just be able to, like, get you.
Yeah.
Frankly, it's more fun. I can't imagine, I mean, unless people are really getting off on pure KDA, but and
montage.
At least as a perspective where I like using snipers, it's not really satisfying to do that, because deep down you are outplayed. They got the first shot on you, right? It's just like you're just getting rewarded for your lack of ability almost, or your lack of reflexes. So it's I think even people that are fans of using sniper rifles will have a more enjoyable experience being forced to be better.
Yeah. It'll feel better to get the kills and then get out of dodge before you get hurt.
Earn the kills this time.
Exactly. It just feels better to earn it.
Yep.
Earn it. Yep.
And so swords, we knew this was coming. Across the board, reduced sword damage by 15%. And I agree with Aztecross on this, that it's probably not going to affect the Lament that bad. Lament's still going to wreck.
Yeah, that was my thought. And
Mine
it's like
too,
swords are being used by 65% of players, but is it swords that are being used, or is it the Lament and Falling Guillotine that are being used?
That's yes.
even
I
say
think
it's
that's 60.
swords. I think even when you think of like when I think of ammo economy for heavy weapons, you're still getting the most bang from your buck with swords.
And that's the thing that I bring up the most is that, and funny bone, they actually buffed the ammo on swords like a year ago or something, and I was flabbergasted.
Yeah.
I was like, I mean, it was a welcome change by most, but I was like, why? They're the easy. If you switch to any other heavy, you'll actually be searching for heavy. If you have a sword,
Right.
you almost never need heavy.
Right.
Right. And the thing is that
15% isn't going to change that because you're
No.
mostly using your light
People
attack.
are still going to be using swords, even with 15%
because I'm thinking
reduced.
to the second encounter in the raid, Deep Stone Crypt, and there's
Atrax?
Right, there's that point where, like,
You
for the
need to use a sword.
Yeah.
But will you still need to use a sword when you get to? I mean, when you get to that final encounter where he's flashing all over, and which one you go after?
His final stand, yeah. His
It'd
last
be
stand.
nice to like be able to like take your rocket launcher and just be able to shoot your rocket launcher at it instead of having to run around, right? You can just point and shoot. So I feel like this is a welcome change, that like with the rocket launchers getting buffed.
But rocket launchers having one in the magazine still, we're how many years into Destiny 2, and I don't think they were overpowered. I mean, PvP is a different thing. Just keep them at one or whatever. But
Right.
I don't think rocket launchers will ever be viable with one in the magazine.
Yeah.
Right. Well, Truth has
to
two,
reload
right?
every single shot. We didn't any.
That's
Truth
why
has
you use
two.
Truth, yeah.
And nothing about linear fusion rifles, which again, another thing from Destiny 2 vanilla that should have been fixed, because snipers and fusion rifles used to be, and shotguns all were power weapons.
Right.
In Destiny 2 vanilla. They fixed that and everyone loved it. But somehow linear fusion rifles stayed in the heavy slot and have never been a relevant heavy.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, why
They should be a special weapon.
Yeah,
really should. Why would anyone pick that weapon?
Yeah.
For a heavy.
They're harder to
encounter?
use than snipers and less powerful.
Right. They're just.
Well,
it's
Arbalest is an exception, but they're also looking at that as well.
I'm not talking about specific exotics.
Right, yeah.
Well, an Arbalest is not in the heavy slot.
No, it's not. Yeah.
And
Crap.
What?
Another thing that's absent from the conversation here on the TWAB, Fellwinter's Lie. That's an outlier.
The most used weapon in PvP.
Yeah.
You would think that they would touch upon that.
It's I get killed a lot by shotguns in Crucible whenever we go in, and they're trying to fix like fusion rifles, and they're tuning sniper rifles, but the immediate benefit of shotguns in general is that you get more special ammo from getting a kill with it, and you're right there on their
Right.
where the ammo
that's
spawns.
a huge disadvantage
so
with snipers. And
very
even fusion rifles.
chainable, and it's always Fellwinter's Lie.
Yeah, it is.
Always. Yeah, absolutely.
It's got to go.
And
we
the
have a comment.
CQC.
Lament is king in the chat by Richard. And you gotta agree. I don't know why. I mean, my theory is that they're giving the whole season for people to earn the lament so they can experience the lament in its original form before nerfing it.
Yo, that's what you thought about Stasis, though, too. You were like, they're going to launch it overpowered on purpose.
Yeah, and now that actually stays because I'm saying they're going to give it the full season. Are you saying that they've already nerfed Stasis?
No, I'm saying that they're not going to.
They're not touching
it. But that you don't know that because the next
Well,
season.
they might.
That's true.
They're doing piecemeal nerfs to Stasis. And by the
right
way,
now,
that
in the middle of the season, I think that they have that their theory, and they're trying to stick with their guns of no big changes except from season to season. If there's an outlier, let the outlier stand until the season's over. That
Right.
they have said that in previous TWABs, and I think that's what they're trying to do right now.
yeah. But you thought that Stasis was overpowered by design. They wanted to make it like crazy to begin
Well,
with.
they've come out and said that. They said that the risk of going too far definitely outweighed the risk of, or like, was less than the risk of going too low with
Right.
it.
And I was
They launched
talking
Stasis
about-
and it wasn't powerful, which a
Right.
lot of people don't like. I mean, our friend Richard says he doesn't touch Stasis. He doesn't like it. So some people actually did
Really?
feel that way, that they didn't go far enough. Yeah, he doesn't use Stasis on his Titan.
I was talking to Funny Bone about it, and it's like for Stasis, I think they knew to a certain extent where Stasis was and whether it was going to be overpowered in, say, PvP and how it was going to interact. But they have, I don't even know how many test players they have in their test, but let's just say they have like 30. That's nothing people that they have.
Hopefully with a game this big they have more than 30, but
right. But I mean, let's just say they have 100. It's still not even close to the.
Yeah, even if they had 1,000 or 5,000, there would be no way
right.
to actually
I
gauge.
feel like it's, and then I think they've seen that year, like every time. It's like they send something out to the community, and the community figures it out, and the community figures out something that none of their test players found or even thought of. So I think their idea, at least in my mind, their idea was, let's just ship it the way it is. It's fun. It's possibly overpowered, but let's see what the community can do. Can they figure out ways to counter this in a PvP setting? Or, how will they use it when going against the bosses or the harder
yeah, and I also think they thought if Stasis dominates for a season, then that's not the worst thing that could happen to Destiny. This is just a season of Stasis.
Right. That's what it should have been called.
But same with Lament. Like I think that they're waiting they're going to give Lament a big nerf starting next season.
Yeah. And then there's some other exotic tweaks. Duality's getting a bit of a buff. Sturm will once again reload any equipped special slot weapon on kill, provided the special weapons clip isn't full already. And then they fix some issues with some of the other ones. Crimson Day is canceled. But before we get to that, we've already been talking about Stasis. Any of these changes that are coming here, how's everybody's feeling about the state of the Crucible? I watched that video you recommended, Romance Girl from Kujay, which I thought was very reasonable, and it's one of the few videos I've seen where somebody has played armchair developer, but like really backed it up with numbers and examples. You know what I mean? And also bothered to think, what's the easiest thing the studio could consider doing with Stasis? And the easiest thing was that initial nerf overall to the freezing and the damage, and that would take care of so many things, and you would just need to tweak individual things. And he actually spelled out the specifics of it. I was impressed, and it sounded good to me. I don't know. How did you feel about it?
He made a very compelling case, I thought. Even if probably from developer standpoint, they could, probably point out, well, this wouldn't work because of that. But I think overall, sure, if you take the overhead points of what he was saying, which freezing isn't fun in the Crucible. It's just not. Yeah. And if the overall goal, like you said, isn't even competitiveness, it's fun, then the freezing needs to be fun.
It needs to be toned down.
Yeah.
And
I think that the implementation of breaking out, where you press what you need to break out, and then there's a delay. Sorry, my cat is sneezing. And then there's a delay before you actually break out. I think that is like one of the least satisfying things in Destiny.
Right.
Do not like it.
I don't
it's
like
frustrating
it either.
because 9 times out of 10 you're pressing whatever button you need to break out, and that it's your impending death coming. Like, as soon as I break out of this, I'm gonna be killed.
Yeah, because you decide quickly that you want to break out of the ice, and so it feels almost like they're leaning into like a reflex game, but there's a delay and then a punishing huge amount of damage. It's like ridiculous.
The delay is what really makes me upset, though. I think you would better be able to make that risk assessment, and I think Kujay brought this up. If you got the damage right away from breaking out.
Right.
You just break out right away and take the damage. And then you would say, do I want to break out right now, or do I want to wait the couple seconds? Is it worth the damage?
Right.
That I'm going to take from breaking out? But yes, I think overall PvP, the freezing needs to be adjusted. Is the biggest thing. It's the biggest annoyance.
Yeah. Salliebug, you're muted. She's back. I can hear her.
I thought she's like talking to the cat or something.
No, I was just saying I don't play PvP very often, but when I do and I'm frozen, I just wait it out. I'm usually
she's definitely cutting out. You may want to leave and come back, Salliebug.
Gotcha. I can do that.
Yeah. And we lost Romance Girl. Oh, Romance Girl's back as well. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens in Season 13. I would love to want to go into Iron Banner and Crucible again. I'm not encouraged at all to do that. I feel like I get pub stomped pretty much every time. And so if I don't want to go in and play, I'm not going to get better. I'm not going to keep up my chops with it, which just compounds me not wanting to go in anymore. So that's my problem with PvP right now. Is in Iron Banner, I think they should change the name of Iron Banner to I'm Calling It, because it seems like 88 out of 10 matches are called.
It's really 50-50. It's about I actually kept up.
It was over 50-50 when I recorded it.
50% surrenders are...
But 50-50. 50% of the games you play are so one-sided that they get mercied regardless of which side you're on. It's like, how is that even fun? Like, it's just like, you don't even get to have the full experience of the match, because within 2 or 3 minutes, it's been mercied.
I know that they recently extended the mercy. Is this even with that extension?
Yeah. You know, here's the problem with it. Here's the problem I have with it. Emotional trauma aside, or whatever, of losing, or the agony of defeat aside, the problem I have is the mercy. Usually when I look at the game board at the end, it's usually the team that wins a mercy has somebody who's had 34 kills and a KD of 12, and it depends on which team that guy gets on. The trials bro, who's just knows what he's doing.
But yeah, that.
And
well,
so
and that was
when
why
he's,
I like. I mean, okay, I'll let you go.
Well, I'm just gonna say, when he's on my team, he steals all my kills and I don't progress in the bounties. When he's on the other team, he's killing me constantly. I'm dead most of the time, and I don't finish my bounties. So it makes it a slog.
My impression is that the lower the time to kill is, and we have a pretty low time to kill in Destiny right now.
Yeah.
The less teamwork that's involved, because you can just take out.
Right.
If you have a less than a second time to kill, then you can go around as a lone wolf and just take out enemies without working with your team at all. If you're good enough. So I think the that's why I kind of liked. A lot of people hated the early Destiny where there was like a really. They said that like sluggish gameplay, and you needed to work as a team, and it was all getting team stomped, and it's like, but that's how a team game is supposed to go. You're working as a team or you're not, and the people who are working as a team overpower those that aren't. But I think that when the time to kill goes down that low, it opens up the door for those types of
I think especially
games.
what you were saying about shotguns earlier too, right? Where it's so easy right now for just one really skilled player to just go on a spree by themselves and not really have to worry about their teammates or
their ammo.
Right? Because they can just
they get ammo every time they get a kill.
Mobility, shotgun, move on, shotgun, move on. They don't have to coordinate with anyone at all or really worry because they respawn and do it all again.
Yeah, there's a balance there. And I admit there's a balance between with that. TTK is tough business because you do want you do want skill to matter in a 1v1 situation, which is going to happen. But it's like you said, it's a team game, and I think with a higher time to kill, you're really
there's more opportunities.
You're killing, but what you're doing is you're killing the montage opportunities for the content creators with a higher time to kill. And that matters. I mean, it's a real thing.
When you're like, when you have like 3 different, I don't know, like you just have, a chance to come in and help a teammate with a battle. Right now, I feel like it happens so fast, every encounter in PvP. You can't really, there's not a lot of that.
Right. Well, what I was going to say is you need to give an incentive for like the lower skill players to still want to go in and play and help out their team, right? I've always been a support player because of how I play and my play style and so forth, and I'm fine with being the support player, but in this current state of PvP, it's like I can't really be that support except for running, or like if I'm in a control match, potentially being able to run around and capture a zone. But I feel like they need to have some way of incentivizing kind of the lower skill players to still be able to go in and have a good time and have fun and enjoy that aspect of the game. And right now, it's not it for me. But I do remember doing it in Destiny 1 and having, and I would say my skill level's probably about the same, maybe even a little better now. And I would just go in and have a good time. Like there was a reason for me to go in and do it and enjoy the mode. And the state that it's in now is...
And the matchmaking is an issue, and it's a shame because Bungie is like a groundbreaker in match made.
Yeah. I don't know what happened to ranked play.
With Salliebug about this, where, when you think back on the Halo 2 and Halo 3 days where they were releasing new playlists every weekend, they made it look easy. So it almost feels perplexing, like, why aren't we getting that stuff that Bungie sort of built their name on for PvP at least.
Skill-based matchmaking didn't exist. It was a lobby system before Halo 2.
It was ranked, wasn't it? In Halo 3, I remember ranked play.
Yeah, there was ranked and social.
And not just that, they had multiple ranked playlists and multiple social playlists, new social playlists every weekend.
Right.
And the population was never an issue.
So you had the opportunity
maybe not never, but like rarely.
Mm-hmm.
So as a player like me, I could always go into a ranked match and have a decent experience because I'm always going to just be playing.
No, not necessarily. I would say if you were playing Halo, you would stick to social playlists. Right. Ranked, even in the lower levels, was always players trying to get to the highest rank.
Right, players trying to push up.
But you probably would have more balanced experience overall in the ranked playlist, because you're not going to... People who are at skill level 40 plus are going to be playing with other people 40 plus.
Right.
Right. Because the social is
How
not.
often did that like reset?
There's no skill-based matchmaking at all, right? Because that's where we are right now. It's like that.
But the social playlist actually existed as a social playlist. That right now that's never happened in Destiny. Like it would be only for players looking for fun. Because the ranked one was so appealing to competitive players, you almost never got competitive players in the social playlist. That's all I can describe as my experience with Halo.
Yeah, you're exactly on there.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting because it's like the experience right now is, and the way it's set up right now is they have the playlist, but without the skill-based matchmaking, and these top players say, well, we just want to go in and have a good time and have fun. And it's like, yeah, but they really, and we've talked about this before, but I have no right to be in a match with them. I'm like so out of their league that
but they would probably, if they were even doing it, they might do social clash or social control, whereas you would be able to do like social mystery mix or social you know what I mean? Like there's so many options that you could definitely find something to have fun in.
Right.
Well, and honestly, like I think if there was true like skill-based matchmaking where they were fighting for like something prestigious, like say a ranking, like say if we use the whole old Halo system where they were going for rank 45, I can tell you the appeal to actually go in there and actually grind out like a difficult match, you know, you just felt like there was more weighing on it, you cared more, and you enjoyed the experience more. And then for competitive players, honestly, most of the time the mindset was, let's hop into social for one match, warm up, and then because when they did have that competition where everyone was taking it seriously, everyone was trying to get the next rank, it was just an overall more enjoyable experience, even when it was very competitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the pros outweighed the cons there, because you did have a lot of cheaters in Halo, and you did have, you know, the ultra competitiveness, but I think that the pros of having a rank, which was you had that outlet for players, outweighed the cons.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I don't know. I have fond memories of D1 and vanilla D2 PvP, and
True.
I just
And they didn't have ranks.
that the thrill is gone there for me. Anyway, let's move on. They mentioned that they're retiring Crimson Days, RIP. Rip the Crimson Days. I don't think anybody really liked that except for me because of the sugary shell. And I think that what really derailed Crimson Days is when they advertised sort of those matching sparrows that would connect, and they didn't connect. But then I saw
it's kind of ridiculous.
I saw a video where these guys like took the Anarchy or something and connected them. They're riding down like connected by Anarchies or whatever. It was kind of funny.
Right.
Anyway,
oh my gosh, they should make a sparrow with a sidecar that someone can actually get in.
Oh yeah,
oh my god, that would be so cool.
Oh my god, that would be awesome.
Or bring back warthogs.
Shooters.
Yeah. And so that's pretty much it for the TWAB, I think. Yeah, what were you going to say, Salliebug?
No, I was just going to say, I mean, there really wasn't a whole lot to Crimson Days. There's just like Crimson Doubles, which, you know, I don't know. Again, it's a PvP experience, and it didn't really do much for me. So I can see why they're getting rid of it, and I'm fine with it. I feel like they need to just focus on.
If it makes their spring event better, then I'm all for it.
Exactly. And it'll be interesting to see whether like the spring event will still have us going into a forest that's technically been engulfed by the darkness. So
they didn't do that last year.
Yeah, they didn't do Revelry last year. They actually only did that 1 year.
Yeah.
Or 2.
God, it's all blending together. We've been playing the game too long. Anyway,
They
so are we ready to move on to our specials, our special segments? Yeah.
Yeah, let's do it.
So you're listening to the Paracasual Destiny podcast. This is episode 25. If you're just tuning in, you can find us on live on YouTube every other Saturday morning at 11 a.m. Eastern U.S. time, and we like to feature our two feature segments are a lore segment called A Touch of Grimoire, and we also do a Destiny sound check and look at the sounds of Destiny. And now it is time for A Touch of Grimoire with Salliebug. Salliebug, what do you have for us this week on Touch of Grimoire?
Well, since we did go into the raid and I got quite a bit of raid gear, and of course, the first thing I do besides looking at how it looks is look at the lore behind it. And so I started reading the lore, and that of course sends me down a rabbit hole to look at the lore on the Warlock and the Titan gear as well. And one of the things that stood out to me from the lore, and we're obviously not going to read the lore from all of these different pieces, and this has already been a really long podcast, but there's a couple of pieces where Lakshmi 2 makes an appearance, and it kind of looks like, what is she doing? What is she up to? So a lot of the lore is just taking all the different exo characters from the game and just giving and having them have like a little bit of a narrative. And Lakshmi is also an exo, but I just found this one interesting, and she makes an appearance in two different ones. Like there's one for Ada, there's one for Kay, there's one for Shiro. So there's quite a few of them, and you can just go on to Ishtar Collective and read them. It's nice, interesting. And then I think it's the Warlock gear, if I remember right, where it's all Clovis and his family and his relationship with his family members. So that's also interesting. We've talked a lot about Clovis, and I really wanted to go into what's going on with Lakshmi here and what she's doing. And so in going down the rabbit hole and doing some research, I found an excerpt from a lore piece from the book called Dust. And I think this chapter was called Stacks or something like that. Yeah, The Stacks. And in it, there's someone named Lavinia who is doing a search at like a console, a computer console or whatever. And she searches something called 9 Dust Planetary Alignment. And one of the things that comes across her screen is Lakshmi 2 and Hari 5. Do cognitive insight excursions cause spontaneous exo reset syndrome? A case study, unpublished archive material, personal collection. I just wanted to bring that up because these two characters come back up in the current lore that I wanted to address. And so the first piece was from the These Oath Grips. And the title is Certainty. Well, the small lore says certainty is our greatest asset. Without it, we're nothing but shots in the dark. Lakshmi 2. And again, this is Lakshmi 2 is at a console and she's doing a search, and her search is exo identification or name change, Bray Exoscience. And she looks through, she doesn't get a whole lot. It says she gets a lot. She does get a lot, but almost too much. She can't like whittle it down to what she was actually looking for. And so then she looks for identify exo names, query subcommand, flag results as exo name search. So my gathering here is that she's looking for people who have searched their own names. Is that what you guys get out of this? Exo names, query, subcommand, flag results, exo name search. Like she's searching for other people who have searched for their own name, potentially.
Yeah, it's
And
kind of hard to
then,
follow.
right. And then the next one was identify exo name, hashtag query, subcommand, flag results as exo name search hashtag. And again, can't find anything. And then here's the next one. Query, entries, flagged, exo name search, hashtag identify, hashtag flag results as exo number, cross-reference entries, flagged exo name search, hashtag, and exo number for results equals exo name search, hashtag exo number plus flag results haystack. Query, entries, flagged, haystack, extract, post collapse data. And so she just keeps on going through this just and reading it, and she's gets quite a few. And then at the very end, she seems to get what she's looking for. A quick search of the medical archives turned up ailments that caused considerable quackery by the Golden Age, psychogenic amnesia, dissociative fugue, retrograde memory loss, personal obliterations, betrayal. What did it all mean? Lakshmi felt uncertain, and that always boded ill. So my best guess is what's happening here is she's looking for people, exos, who have gone into a search the database of their previous entities. And that kind of goes along with that lore piece that I talked about that came out, and that actually came out in the season of the Drifter, the lore book Dust, where it says Lakshmi 2 and Harry 5 do cognitive insight excursions, cause spontaneous exo reset syndrome. So I think what she's doing is she's trying to find exos that are accessing memory from previous reset, from before their reset, and that is it causing them to spontaneously reset? Like, is there something that Clovis has put into the Exo's just basic setup
Coding.
that would coding that they would reset. So the last, and so then we're going to talk about the Ishtar, well, I got it from Ishtar Collectives, the Legacy Oath Cloak. Do you want to read this, Stego? This is the last one. It's not super long.
Oath
It's a lot
Cloak?
of dialogue. Yes, the Legacy's Oath Cloak.
Legacy's Oath Cloak. How would one such as myself commit human error when I am no longer human? Quote from Hari 5. Do you know why we're here? Of course. You invited me to this interview. Oh, no tea, thank you. I don't drink. You're aware of why you're interested? Of course. I've been doing a lot of research since I awoke. You're from something called the Future War Cult. Odd name for what seems to be sensible precaution. Yes. And so your interest in my case must have something to do with the cult's sensible precaution. I gather that our kind were made as some sort of super soldiers long ago, for a war no one seems to know much about. And now we live much like other people in a universe that has gone to war with itself. Although I think we exos might also be immortal. Isn't it odd? Much of this conversation is odd. I'm not talking about us. I mean that given a whole universe seemingly at war, with invading aliens of all sorts, there's a people specifically designed to be super soldiers. And yet, we exos just do as we like? Go on. Take me, for example. I'm a researcher, a scientist, and I'm a damn good scientist, from all that I've read. And when I woke up, there was nothing more natural for me to do than simply carry on doing that. Super soldier? More like super scientist. I'd hardly know which end of a gun to point at them. But here, in my lab, I touch a machine or just look at it, and I know how to use it. It's like riding a bicycle. A what? Never mind. Tell me more about what happened when you woke up. Well, suddenly I was here, in my lab, but lying on the floor over there. I looked around and it was like I said. I just knew how everything worked. But I couldn't remember anything. Nothing at all? Not even your name? No, nothing. Well, language and motor skills and so on, obviously. But it was the oddest sensation. I've since looked up how I might describe it, and I never found anything better than déjà vu. Everything was familiar, but foreign. Even my own body. It was unsettling. But then I found files of some of my research, and I knew it was mine. It was like reading something I'd forgotten I'd written. I didn't remember where or when or even why I'd written it, but they were clearly my thoughts. It was clearly me, and that's how I found my old name. Yes, let's talk about your old name. The number. Why did you change it? A new designation was necessary. Are you alright? Yes, I'm fine. Why? Something happened to you there. Your eyes. Nothing moved. Well, excuse me, I don't know what you mean. So, do you have a theory? Several. What were you researching before you changed your number? A project with my colleagues. Gonzalez. Oh, did you want me to stop?
Oh, keep going.
A project with my colleagues, Gonzalez and Wangi. Delightful people. Have you met? Briefly. Your research? Yes, well, I won't bore you with the technical details, but we're engaged in a study of dark matter and dark energy. It seems to be my main area of interest. I awoke when I'd been in the midst of looking into... Yes? Well... errors. Errors? Yes, the data we've collected has peculiar anomalies. Between you and me, I think it stems from human error, but I'm going back over all my previous work to see if I missed something. And have you? Found anything amiss? No, if anything, it's been quite therapeutic. It turns out that I'm a damn good scientist. You know, it's odd. I find myself quite parched. Would you mind pouring me some of that tea?
So, so Lakshmi is here talking with Hari 5. And by the way, I thought I would mention that the two scientists that she mentions, Gonzalez and Wangi, also were mentioned in that same floor that I mentioned before from the stacks. They were also as part of those entries. So definitely part of that, the same basic research teams, I guess. But it was quite interesting that she's talking about, when she's talking with Hari, about how she reset. And she says, let's talk about your old name, the number. Why did you change it? And she said, it didn't. A new designation was necessary. And then says, are you all right? Something happened there. Your eyes, nothing moved. So it was almost like Lakshmi is like locking into the fact that she definitely was researching something that caused her exo body to go into reset. And we don't know why or what, quite frankly, at this point. But
Clovis.
some more damn good lore, right? And Lakshmi's onto something.
Do you have a theory?
All I know is like, because she was researching dark matter, right? And she was saying that she was researching dark matter and dark energy. Um, what would have caused her looking into that to have her then go? So something about that triggered her to bring up something from her past or some previous memories that again, so maybe there's something going on more sinister and more dark than we even originally thought. Like we already know that Clovis is kind of tapped into some uh, not good stuff to make exos in the first place. But it looks like that's what Lakshmi's looking into um, is there some kind of commune? So my theory is there a potentially Clovis has communed with the darkness in order for the exos to exist and have that exo body exist, but as soon as anyone gets close to figuring that out, they go into automatic reset. That's my theory.
Classic.
What doesn't Stranger figure that out? Why wouldn't she go into reset?
Well, because I don't know exactly, but I think it's because and I don't know, but
It's hard to
think
say.
it
She
might
doesn't know.
be just because Clovis may that. Remember, she's one of the early ones, and plus she is technically
True, she might not have that
related
mechanism.
Clovis, and so he may have like not put that mechanism in her because he wanted to protect her or didn't want her to reset. Right? She like Elsie Bray is Elsie Bray. She doesn't have a number or anything.
Yeah,
Doesn't
she
have
like
her-
has her memories too.
and she has her memory. So she's like almost like she's in an exo body, but she's not really an exo.
She's like a prototype.
Yeah, I remember when we were collecting the dead exos for the Lament, running
Right.
into a story, a narration where someone was complaining about how Elsie's body was like different.
Right.
Oh,
Yeah.
Wow.
So anyway, that's my theory.
pretty cool stuff.
Thought I'd bring that up since we came up.
And I find it. I think
Bungie
that
lore
piece
is
of lore.
best.
Yeah, I think that piece of lore also revealed where the pouring of tea emote comes from. Right.
But it was true. Remember the beginning of that conversation, she says, "I don't drink," and that by the end, she's like, I'm parched." So she
Yeah.
does. So that was like
Ooh.
weird.
An
Spooky.
ever thickening plot in the Destiny
Yeah.
universe. Very good. That is. How can I tie that in with our next segment? I don't know as I can. But it is time for our next segment here at the Paracasual Destiny podcast, and that segment is Destiny Soundcheck. We're going to do some Destiny Soundcheck today, and for today's Soundcheck, it was inspired by a Reddit post, of all things. Who would have thought that there would be anything about Destiny on Reddit, right? Cries of Eternity posted an interesting thing about the sound of the statue in the Deep Stone Crypt and how that statue itself is a little bit different from its replica that we see at the end of Garden of Salvation, in that it is making noise. It is almost giving us that long, slow whisper, and if you get up close to it, you can hear it speaking. And there are claims that it also is breathing, and its gown is flowing and moving if you look carefully. So it's a very spooky sound check this week. So let me read the original post. This could be nothing. This is Cries of Eternity's Reddit post. This could be nothing, but I feel as though this is at least worth a thought, as it is quite peculiar. The statue in Clarity Control, in the room before the second encounter in the DSC, the Deep Stone Crypt, makes some very strange noises, almost as if it's trying to speak to us or convey a message. It is almost to the point of decipherable dialogue, especially in the first 30 seconds of the video. And he posts a link to a video, and we'll be listening to it here. This wouldn't be the first time this type of thing has happened, so I wouldn't put it past Bungie. So this is really kind of spooky. So people have analyzed this. There were some replies of people who took that sound and filtered it and EQ'd it, in Audacity or whatever, to try to reveal what it's saying. And some of the things that listeners claim to hear when they listen to the statue in the Deep Stone Crypt. One Redditor posted that they heard a Russian phrase, "Vsia let me get this right. "Vsia начинается тысячу раз," which translates as "everything starts 1,000 times." Death by Toilet, another Redditor, EQ'd and filtered the sound files and claims he can hear distinctly "Stay with us," "Reveal it," "Answers here," "Yes, feed us." So we're going to give this a quick listen here on the Paracasual Destiny podcast, if I can call it up here. Let's give the statue in the Deep Stone Crypt, and supposedly it's on a 30-second loop here, so let's give it a listen. So there you have it. That was more than 30 seconds. Hopefully we went through the loop twice on that sound bit. It was a little quiet, so I apologize. But I could definitely hear some of those phrases. I also thought I heard Venus mentioned. Some people mentioned Venus and Io are being spoken in that. Overall, a very creepy sound check this week. Reminds me of the sounds of demonic possession throughout, movie history and so forth. Would use this sort of thing. Somebody mentioned in a post, it reminds them of the Nazgul from Lord of the Rings. It's got that sort of thing, and almost Latin sounding at times. I don't know. Very creepy indeed. That has been this week's sound check. Yeah.
Creepy.
Yeah, very creepy. Creepy indeed.
And
any theories on this one?
I was listening to it, and I couldn't discern any specific dialogue or anything, but the sound in the background in addition to it is just so good.
Yeah, it's wonderful. I don't know what to make of it other than we're dealing with the darkness here. And I was thinking the Russian thing, if that is actually in there, it mentions, what did it say? It said the translation is "everything starts 1,000 times." It reminded me of the old loot cave in Destiny 1. 1,000 deaths are not enough for Master Rahul that they put in there.
Well, that's back now too.
Right.
That's now in Destiny 2.
It's in Destiny 2. They brought it back, and so
Right.
I don't know. It reminded me of that.
I'm reminded of one KV.
Yeah, that's
And
what I
Whisper
was
the Worm.
thinking too.
Right.
I
Yeah,
was
that
thinking, does
too.
it have something to do with the Ahamkara?
Oh,
Mm.
yeah.
Zol, Will of the Thousands.
Oh, there he goes.
My theory is it's just the genius team at Destiny's sound department coming up with something to freak us out and keep us guessing. Even it, like I could hear the "Stay with Us" and reveal it.
Right.
But I couldn't make out some of the other stuff just listening to it in its current state. I'd love to hear what that one guy did, Death by Toilet. I'd like to hear his filtered version with his EQ treatment. I think he de-essed it to get rid of all that sibilance. So that would be cool to hear it in that form as well.
Just to tie into what we were saying with the lore, and that if indeed Clovis has kind of made a pact with the darkness in order to achieve his end goal, then it would make sense that there would be a darkness somewhere in Clarity Control that was influencing.
Yeah, the other thing to keep in mind though is that this statue seems to be alive. Like it's breathing and moving, which I can't wait to do the raid again just to go ahead and check this stuff out.
Yeah.
It's gonna be cool. Yeah, that's one of the reasons I chose this. Yeah. All right. I think that about wraps it up. Final thoughts? Anybody? Anything else to bring up before we close this one and put it in the archives?
Well, just that. I just read a little bit about the 1,000 Voices because you piqued my interest.
Uh-huh.
And they actually bring up that because the 1,000 Voices has a similar appearance to Zol, Will of the Thousands. Many people think that the worms and the Hamkara are related.
Right. I've heard that.
So I wonder if Sabathun has anything to do with this.
Yeah.
Right. Well, it just
or
makes
Sivu
you wonder,
Arath.
how much has the darkness reached out to all of these different alien races and like influenced them. So.
And now Guardians.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
And now Guardians.
This is great.
Yep.
I love falling down these rabbit holes. This is wonderful. Thanks to the folks over at Bungie. Before we sign off today and go get some lunch, does anybody have any shares, any media consumption shares that they would like to give a shout out to?
Well, I want to say that we started watching WandaVision, and we realized we ended up watching the first episode all the way through. And then I realized, like very early on into the second episode, that this WandaVision would make a whole lot more sense if I was more familiar with the Avengers.
Oh, that universe. Is a big mistake. It does not make more sense.
That being said, we decided it's like I like it because I had no connection with those characters whatsoever, and I felt like wanted to know what their origin story is. So it's like decided to go down the Avengers rabbit hole, and we just started watching in chronological order, not the order that they came out, but in chronological order of the characters of the Avengers universe, the Marvel Avengers universe. So
yeah, Wanda and Vision actually don't get used. That they're very underutilized, but it will they do have some story.
Right.
So we watched Captain America, and then we watched Captain Marvel, and last night we watched Iron Man. So we are working our way through, and we're three movies in.
Wow, that's awesome.
And it's cool that
So-
Disney Plus actually has the playlist with the timeline version, so you can just follow,
Oh,
just
cool. That
move
is
right
cool.
along in it.
A
Yeah,
little, like,
they
just
arranged them.
pop culture catch up.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes. It's
Yeah.
and it's funny because some of these we've seen. Like I remember seeing Captain America when it came out. I remember seeing Iron Man when it came out. We never saw Captain Marvel. But we haven't seen any of the newer ones. Just because it didn't kind of coordinate with what our existing consumption was.
A
But
likely excuse.
allowed to go into the movies. We allowed to go to the movies altogether, right? And now everybody's has. But be nice when we can do that again.
Yeah.
But at any rate, it's kind of fun catching up. We've seen some of these, but some of them we haven't, and having them all kind of be coordinated and getting a little more versed. And it's fun to see Stanley make an appearance in a couple
Stanley.
of them. And
It's like one name.
and Jon Favreau always likes to put himself in as a cameo in his movies as well. So
Yeah.
it's kind of fun to find those Easter eggs.
Funny Bone, been consuming anything outside of Destiny? I'm sure you have.
Yeah, I mean, just some music. I was, I guess my recommendation would be Link Wray's eponymous album from 1971. Link Wray's kind of more famous for, like a pioneer in sort of power rock music and maybe a little bit of more like surf sounding rock music.
Right. Surf.
He released a really cool album it was either 1970 or 1971, and it's him and I think his brother and maybe some close musical friends, and they're doing more roots music, more of like maybe bluesy folk rock kind of stuff, and it's quite entertaining. It's a good listen. I recommend it. Link Wray.
I need to check that out. Yeah, you gave me the link. So, Stego, anything from you this week? Recommendations?
We have been watching the latest part 3 on Disenchantment, the Netflix original animated series, which is just delightful. It's very funny. And I haven't checked it out, but it just dropped and I'm about to take the video game Cyber Shadow for a spin by Yacht Club Games, famous for the retro-inspired Shovel Knight, a couple of games.
Cool.
So I'm excited to try that. Anyone who likes Ninja Gaiden and 8-bit games would also like Cyber Shadow.
I'm there with Ninja Gaiden, that's for sure. Romance Girl, anything to add?
We just finished the second season of Joe Pera Talks With You, and I can't recommend that highly enough. It's so good.
What's that about?
It's an Adult Swim
Okay.
show, and the episodes are only like 10 minutes long, and it's kind of hard to describe, but it's a comedy.
Okay.
It's and you would definitely love it. It's definitely, everyone listening would love it if you haven't seen it. It's on HBO Max.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's really just Joe Pera talking with you.
Cool.
Various subjects ranging from talks you back to sleep, or talks to you about the rocks, minerals that are local to his area in northern Michigan.
Awesome.
Stuff like that.
Definitely give it a go. It's very, very funny, but also very heartwarming and relaxing if you need help falling asleep.
It sounds like Prairie Home Companion, but good. Okay. I think that wraps it up for today. You've been listening to the Paracasual Destiny podcast. This has been episode 25. You can look for us on Twitter at ParacasualP or on this YouTube channel where we're broadcasting live every other Saturday morning, 11 a.m. Eastern U.S. time. Please reach out. Click on all manner of buttons on Twitter and YouTube or wherever. You can also leave us a voice message on anchor.fm page. We'd love to hear from you. So from Green Stego, Sooltime, Salliebug, Romance Girl, and Funny Bone, have a great 2 weeks. We'll see you 2 weeks from today. We're looking forward to it already. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Hey, everyone.
Bye.